Good. Very good. Get started. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vridavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandathami Bhagavad Gita Bhagavad Veshini Namostu te Vyasa Vishana Buddhe Pulla Ravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamayah Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Panaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamrutaduhe Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyah Mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So we are on the 10th chapter discussing about the vibhutis of the Lord. And this is because Arjuna wanted to know more. As we saw, he has requested, and then Krishna is accepting Arjuna's request. And he starts to give a huge list, actually, of his vibhutis. But he also starts with just giving a little bit of introduction to it. And you know how it is, right? Whenever we are asked to, this happens in, of course, interview sessions. You go for a job, for an interview, and the interview asks you, so tell me about yourself. And I guess all of us, we love to talk about ourselves. And here, Bhagwan also, when Arjuna says that, tell me more about really who are you? Because, Arjuna is definitely coming to understand more and more about Bhagwan. And so Bhagwan now starts to talk about really himself, but himself in a way that he always starts with at a very high end, which is at the level of Satchit Ananda. That's where he starts off. And so from there on, then he slowly starts to describe more and more about his own glories. So that is where we are at the moment. So I want to pose this question to all of you is when you can think about Bhagavan's glories, what glories comes to your mind? Something which is, absolutely, which is awe-striking. It is and totally an amazement. It just stuns you. I know, Geeta, you've gone to really a lot of exotic places. So I'm sure you must be experiencing that stunning, or you must be having a stunning experience.
Always that awe factor. Oh my God, this is definitely God's creation. That's what every place I see, that's what I think. Oh my goodness.
Right, right.
Immense.
Totally. I mean, as we have talked about before, the first time for me that awe-striking experience was back in 1980s, 4 or something, when I came to US for a conference. I came to Canada for a conference, I remember. And those days, even flying, I mean, first time I think I took my flight from Chennai to Mumbai or something. And coming to US, and when I saw the Niagara Falls, that was just, it still is in my mind as one of the most awe-striking experiences. So that's where Arjuna is really, when he asked Krishna, Krishna could tell him about, I don't know, millions and millions of awe-striking experiences for all of us, which many times we take it for granted. I think simple example that I can say is our own human body. Okay. How does everything work in such unison? It doesn't matter whether it's a small amoeba to a full grown human being. Thousands of processes, millions of processes, all happening simultaneously. There cannot be a greater glory than that, I think, as much as we see glories outside. So that's and what keeps all this insentient things alive? At the end of the day, there's so many, we are creating technology after technology after technology, chat GPT and all its variations, artificial intelligence at its glory. But have we thought about the real intelligence that has created artificial intelligence? And this by itself can be a lecture someday, real intelligence versus artificial intelligence. It's only because of real intelligence that artificial intelligence exists. But now we are so enamored by artificial intelligence that we're using artificial intelligence in everything, right? So that also is a great glory. So in the shlokas from 19 to 38, actually, Krishna enumerates the greatest and the bestest of all his glories. Starting from this aspect of giving sentiency to something which he's giving life. Our human body is also kept alive because of this aspect, what is called as the intelligent principle, the consciousness. It's because of consciousness that the body itself is alive. The body's processes, the life processes happens, and because of the life processes, our body is able to be kept alive. So too, like, for example, when you look at electricity, I mean, the closest example you can think about, and this is why Krishna actually starts to enumerate. It is starting with this example of giving sentiency. And the example that I see, Will, which is electricity, with just a simple aspect of electricity, now we can take it to such great levels. Even artificial intelligence to be shown, we need a computer, right? We need a computer or a phone or any of these devices. Only then, even the best of technologies, which is, I say, artificial intelligence's applications and chat GPT and all that stuff, can happen only because of, finally, if you boil it down, to electricity. Electricity has to power something, even iPhone or whatever, even though electricity is not directly connected, but it has to power the battery, and the battery finally has to this. So finally, it boils down to that electricity. So to here, the greatest of glories of that Bhagwan is the aspect of consciousness, the chit aspect of it. And that's where it all starts. So in Shloka 19, we saw last time, the last two classes, we have started looking at this, where you see Krishna is talking about how he's going to explain the Divya. He's focusing on the word Divya, which is the most divine glories. He can talk about millions of them, but he focuses on only the Divya aspect of it, in the beginning, that is. And then there are also some other words which we will actually, which we have seen it. So this is the thing where I said the most extraordinary, greatest, bestest of glories is what he says, Divya. So even though, we are looking at glories like even simple thing of me speaking, you know, how does all the muscles in my face work together to speak, which we have taken for granted? At the level of where Lord Krishna is coming, even this one he considers as something very, very simple. He goes even beyond that to explain the most greatest of glories, and that's why he says, Mama Vistarasya Antah Na Asti. My this vibhutis, there is so much amount, there's absolutely no limit to it at all. There's no end to all these glories. And these glories are not just in this, in this plane of existence that we are in today, which is, this bhumi and, this earth, this part of it. But it goes to even all the lokas, like, for example, we say when we die, right? There are many levels of existence that we can go through. There is 7 above and 7 below, the 14 lokas. So the glories extends beyond what our eyes can actually see. So he tells, hey, Arjuna, and he calls him as, Kuru Shrestha, in this thing here, he calls him Kuru Shrestha, best among the Kurus. So he gives him also in many ways, he's glorifying even Arjuna here. He's saying, oh, Arjuna, you are the best of all these, all of the Kuru dynasty. You are also a great, glorious one. So therefore, he says, listen, I'm going to tell you all that. So then in Shloka, he really goes into the absolute depth. He actually addresses Arjuna as a very another beautiful, another name called Gudakesha. So he says, Aham Atma Gudakesha. Yeah,
Sunitha, are you recording? Did you put recording?
I think I didn't record.
Yes,
It doesn't show.
Okay.
I saw it in the beginning.
Yeah, it's okay. Let me record.
I got a message that recording progress, I thought.
Yeah, I also got the message saying recording has started.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. No problem. But thank you for catching it. So you're really alert, Geeta, in spite of your long trip and everything. Good. So in this here, he, he's trying to show about how Aham Atma Gudakesha. So he starts at the highest, deepest, subtlest level, So so the greatest of glories is what he's saying, that I am your own self, Aham Atma Gudakesha. He calls him Gudakesha. We'll come to a little more explanation of Gudakesha, but he says I'm Atma. And I am in everybody. You don't have to go way too far. I'm right there. I am Adihi. I am ancient, but I'm in the past, I'm in the present, I'm in the future. That's what Aham Adihi, Madhyam, and Bhutana. I'm everywhere. I'm also the final end. So we had talked about the first 2 lines. The second 2 lines of it is where we're going to go a little more deeper. So he, by referring to the word Atma, he's trying to first say that he is the essence. He is, like how we said, electricity is the essence of probably everything that is working. So too, without this essence, this consciousness aspect, there is nothing that can exist in the whole world. So in that sense, he says, I am that essence. And that is the highest order of reality here, which he says. And then he says the last, so that's where he starts over the first of the glories. You will see at the end, he will end with saying that not only I am that Chit principle, but I'm sorry, I didn't bring this up. I'm also the existence principle. Okay. So this, when I say Chit, and I'm equating to electricity, I think you all can understand that, correct? But then when I say I'm the existence principle, what does that mean? What do you think?
The consciousness, the very fact that I'm alive, the otherwise the body is jada vastu, right? So I'm thinking it is the consciousness itself is the existence principle over here. That is
No,
how.
so consciousness, we call this as the equating to, say, electricity. Now, can you see electricity? We cannot see it, but we know electricity exists, and we know it is because of electricity, everything is moving, correct? But then there is one other aspect of this um, um, at the subtlest level, which is called as Sat. So what is that Sat? How do we define Sat? How is Sat different than the Chit?
Hi, Chitra. How are you?
Okay. Okay, that is the question.
Hari
So
Om,
yes,
yeah.
for something to what you said, Suvarna, to keep it alive, there is something needed, and we said that is Chit. But what is Sat now? Anand, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the existence is like a projection. So, for example, the chit, we're comparing with electricity. We can't see electricity, right? And then once it's projected into, a refrigerator or a fan, then we'll see. So, existence is the projection of Sat. Is that a good understanding?
So one thing to keep in mind, the projection exists only, well, maybe I might complicate that a little bit if I say this, which is, if I say projection exists in Maya, but I will not go there. Let us take a very, very simple example. Like, for example, if I take this pen, okay? Now I'm saying this is a pen. Then this one here is my spectacles, my reading glass. But in all this, I'm saying that this is a pen. This is. So there is some content associated with it, the content part of it. Think about it that way. Just like how we say that in the media blogs, social media or Instagram or everything, we say you got to be a content writer. So nowadays, content writers are greatly in demand, the content part of it. But don't go too deep into thinking what I'm saying now as the content, the one that gives you the form, the one that gives the isness. Maybe that is a better. The content is the isness. Without the content of it, there is no content. Think about it that way. Of a media. So maybe I'll explain this with this example, what I have here. So what do you see here?
Pot.
A pot, right? So this is a pot. And I said, like, this is a pot, this is a pen, etc. So the very isness of the pot, okay, where does that isness of the pot come from?
Clay?
Exactly. Very good. Geeta, you have to go for more trips. You are so alert. Really. 100% correct. You see, I mean, I have it. I mean, I prepared the presentation, so I have it here, but you said it. Very good. So the isness of the pot is from the clay. Okay. So that is how we define as Sat. Sat is the isness. Chit is the one that gives life to it. So even though this example may seem very, very funny or a stupid example or something, but imagine if this pot suddenly starts to walk and dance. What will it be? It is because of the Chit principle. Okay. But this isness right now is because of the Sat principle. So existence aspect in this whole world is another thing. So that is the Sat, and the Chit is the one which gives you the the aspect of it being conscious. Now, in the beginning of Vedanta, we sometimes use it in a loose way. It is because of which that something is alive, we say. Okay? And we always equate this to somebody who's alive and, who's very alive and who's kicking the hands and legs and all that. And when that person dies, then we say, this person is not alive. Correct? Because that aspect of Chit is not there. Now we equate sometimes that to life. But life as such is not the correct word, because life is because of the 5 processes. Prana, Vyana, Udana, Samana, all those things, right? Which is the 5 processes of digestion and breathing and thinking and all that. That is life. Life itself is an expression of that Chit. Okay. So is that clear? This is what he starts to say, Aham Atma Gudakesha, but Atma thing, part of it he's referring to as this isness. Now, just one more example of this one is this.
If it is, I have a question. If it is not life principle, then what is it?
So life principle is this 5 processes, which is easy for us to understand.
Correct. So in the part which you showed, what is Sat and what is
Chit?
Chit.
Correct. So in this case, there is no Chit.
That was my question. Okay.
So there is no Chit. And that is why I explained that example of a live body and a dead body.
Okay.
So a dead body is similar to this pot. Okay. There is, but why I'm emphasizing this is that we immediately say that a live body has life, a dead body has no life. Correct?
Right.
And we say that life is Chit. But life is not Chit. Life itself is a manifestation of Chit. Okay.
Oh.
If it is a little confusing, don't worry about it for now. But I just want to say that.
Okay. Thank you.
But because that's why I said this pot, right, doesn't have life. But let's say that I infuse life into it and the pot starts dancing and all that. Then it has both aspect, a manifestation of Chit, which is that life, and the pot. Okay. And the
how about a live tree or a plant?
Yes. So trees, birds, animals, shrubs, all of them have that Chit, that consciousness in the form of life. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Very good. Yeah. So that's, I'm glad you asked the question, because it's good to elaborate and look at the nature. So you see that Sat, the idea is that this Sat and the Chit are also glories of Bhagavan at the subtlest level. Okay. And you will see that in the coming examples where both of them are shown in great manifestations. Okay. So when I said even the Niagara Falls and the Grand Canyon, they are manifestations of the Sat principle. But we cannot say it is a manifestation of the Chit principle, because there is no life in there, right? Yeah, go ahead, Suvarna. Yeah.
Hari, if we are saying, the waterfalls and the Grand Canyon, they are all Sat, their existence alone. But the beauty of nature, now we'll be coming into the fall season when the colors, the tree, the leaves colors change and everything. So where would that be?
That
What?
is the change of the colors and everything is manifestation of the chit, which is shown in the sat, if you want to say it that way. So let us say, let us go a little deeper into it in the sense, we'll be using some actual Western chemistry, if you want to say. There is a photochemistry, not photochemistry. What would be the change in colors? There is some kind of a chemistry going on there, okay? In the sense, some molecules in the plant, which chlorophyll, for example, chlorophyll is green in color, that is being transformed into some other molecule. The chemistry is going on there. So there is a process which is going on, and that process again is a manifestation of the chit. Okay, so it's a manifestation of the chit, but it is evident in the sat. So sat is the one which is the existence. Like, for example, when I said, when Gita said, this is a pot, clay is the isness. Clay is the isness of the pot. So that clay is getting modified into this round pot. So too in the plant, the clay is whatever that chemical is in fact, I have another deeper thought which is coming up actually, how you can relate to it. So there is the essence of the pot, which is clay here, which is now manifested into pot. The same clay, if I were to crush this pot, it becomes clay, and the clay then gets manifested as a bigger pot or something like that, right? So too in the tree, the whatever the chemical which was there, it was manifested as chlorophyll, which is green in color. That same thing now is changed to some other chemical, which is now giving the redness to the leaf. Okay, so it is manifested in the sat. But the process was a manifestation of the chit. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So
Yes.
two things are
Thank
going
you so much.
simultaneously. Yeah.
So there is no sat at all in all this.
In which
Non-living.
Non-living stuff.
non-living things has it's all sat actually.
Oh, sat. I mean,
Yeah, sat is there, but chit is not there.
Chit is not there in any
No,
of this.
correct.
Okay.
So
So the chit should be associated with some live something.
something which makes it alive and kicking. We say alive and
Right.
kicking.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So Hariom, so that's where the electricity example makes a lot of sense. The
Correct.
electricity makes the battery fully charged so that we are now able to communicate via laptop, via Zoom. We are able to use Zoom and stuff like that. So that is how we have to connect the electricity over here. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Because
Thank
you cannot see you cannot see electricity, but you can see the wire in which the electricity is manifest. So the wire is the sat, or this entire world, this Ishvara, whose aspect we call this as Nirguna and Saguna. Nirguna aspect is the Sat and the Chit principles. They are manifested in the Saguna aspect in that way. Okay, so even Sat and Chit and all that is something we have to only visualize, which is then manifested in that form. So that is why that Sat is manifested as the clay, which is the deeper principle which was coming to, which is the cause, and the effect is seen in the pot. Correct? Now, suppose suddenly I tell you, if I say, bring me the clay, okay? Suppose I go to Geeta's house for dinner, and then Geeta says, I say I need some water and bring it to me in the clay. She's not going to bring it to me in the clay. She's going to bring it to me in the pot, which is the water, So that clay is manifested as a pot. So this is so important to realize because, we, again, coming back to a very mundane conversation, when we talk about God, Ishvara, Ishvara, and all that, right? How do I see that Ishvara? Ishvara is manifested in the form of all the things, but in the subtle form, it is nothing but Sat and Chit.
Harum.
Yes, Anand. Yes, I didn't forget
So
you.
they need to be like the Sat is the first one and Chit would be the next one.
I don't think we can say that. No, they are just independent properties, if you want to say it that way, of Brahman.
Okay, I mean, if you are comparing clay with the Sat and a pot with a Chit, right?
No, pot is not Chit.
Okay.
They're actually no. Of course, I have one more slide there to show you this thing. But coming back here, let's say the clay is the cause, and the effect is the pot. So clay and pot has a cause and effect relationship. Okay.
So we can't say like this is Sat and this is Chit.
No, no. We cannot say that. We cannot say that. In here, clay is transformed into a pot, and both of them are lifeless. They don't have any chit, actually, right? Which we can see. That's why I use the example. If I were to put chit into it, then this pot will be dancing everywhere.
So they are together. Is that the right way? Sat and Chit are together.
Sat and Chit are together in us, like as a human being, in animals, plants, all this, we have both Sat and Chit.
If there's no life, then okay.
Yeah, just like the light bulb also, which is burning right now, has the manifestation of Sat and Chit in it. Yeah.
Can there be Chit without Sat?
Can there be Chit? Yeah, Chit is everywhere. Actually, Chit is everywhere. And the only way Chit, you can experience Chit is when there is Sat,
Okay.
Like, for example, again, I know I keep giving the same examples, but they are such great examples that you can do, like electricity is everywhere. What are we doing? We are just tapping into electricity. I used to be fascinated in the beginning when internet came, I used to think, oh, internet, maybe there is somebody operating a box. So idea is internet, we are tapping into internet. And we're using that aspect of internet to communicate and everything. So too, we are tapping into electricity in order for the bulb to work. So electricity is everywhere. Like that, Chit is everywhere. But for Chit to get manifested or something, we need the aspect of Sat. Correct? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this other example, which also we have talked before, is we see this. What do we see here? Let me ask you, what do you see here?
Sat.
You see Sat, yes, but if somebody were to ask you, what is this? A normal person would ask you, what is this? What would you say?
Bangle.
Would you say it is bangle, or would you say, now that you know about Sat, what would you call this?
Gold.
Gold, exactly. So what you're seeing is gold. Okay. And if I can constantly, so this is an exercise for us. Constantly, when I look at something, if I can go and see what the original thing is, then I will not get very attracted to the effect all the time, you know. Then I'll be happy if I just have a small bar of gold in my house if I want to possess gold, you know. But what is happening is we have trained our mind so much to see the manifestation of this gold in so many different things. We have not stopped to think about what am I truly seeing. Okay. So I want to, so that is what, yes. So bangle is the, is because there is gold. Bangle is there because of gold, you know. So wherever bangle is, there gold must be there. But wherever gold is, bangle need not be there. Okay. So wherever bangle, so
So whether it's gold or bangle, it's still Sat.
it still is Sat. Yes. If you can break it down to that level now, you know, bangle is because of gold. Gold is the manifestation of Sat, principle of Ishvara. If you can get to that level in our transactions everywhere, I will never be disappointed. I will never be dejected, because I know ultimately that everything is nothing but Sat. It is not the manifestation. You see? It's just actually very, very beautiful thing to reflect upon. And, so I'm never disappointed. So what if, I lose a bangle? Okay. So what if I lose a bangle? Ultimately, what did I lose? That bangle in the form, again, of course, it has to be taken at different levels, you know. I have to first train my mind to see everything is nothing but Sat. So this is the two main glories of Bhagavan, which is these are the two main glories. Okay, so Sat and Chit. We saw Chit in the form of that Atma when he says Aham Atma Gudakesha, you know. So why does he call him Gudakesha? That is also a very beautiful thing to think about, you know. So Kesha means hair, right? And Guda actually means sleep. And what does sleep represent for us? I mean, there are good things about sleep, which is we need sleep to get refreshed and all that. But
Tamas.
sleep,
Yeah.
tamas, exactly.
Tamas.
So sleep represents tamas, and tamas is a representative of ignorance, correct? And how do we look at the quality of tamas? Is we look at tamas as, I look at something like, for example, I look at this pen and I imagine this to be, it's an ordinary pen and I imagine it to be a very, very expensive pen, or I fool people by saying that this is an expensive pen. So many things, this is how we live. We live a life of foolery, actually, many times. We're always constantly pretending who we are not. And I mean this from a Vedantic perspective, you know. At the end of the day, I am nothing but that Sat Chit Ananda. I am that Brahman. But I fool myself to be something else. And of course, I need to do that because I live in a world of make-believe or Maya, correct? So the word Gudakesha here, what Krishna is trying to praise Arjuna is, he's saying, oh Arjuna, you are the person who has actually conquered sleep. In other words, you are a person who has such a subtle intellect. You're so sharp. You can actually grasp things. You can go beyond things and look at like a bangle as Sat. You know, you are that kind of a person. So that is why he calls him as Gudakesha, which is, it's this whole aspect of Sat and Chit is really so abstract, because there is no form to associate with it. There is no dimension. It is that kind of a consciousness. And Arjuna is the kind of person, he's saying, you're the person who is able to recognize that Satchit. You're able to understand that is, and you can even meditate upon it. So, there are stories which is being told, like when they went on the 12-year exile, he never slept, indicating that not the physical sleep, but he was so sharp. He was able to navigate through all the issues and challenges that can go on, that they all had to go through. So he says, Krishna is praising Arjuna as, "Oh, Gudakesha," somebody who's mastered sleep, somebody who's mastered ignorance, somebody who's so sharp and intellect, and therefore because you can see even in this discourse of this 10 chapters, Arjuna is already starting to understand Krishna's true nature, So that's why he calls him Gudakesha. So he says, Arjuna, you're already looking at me as that consciousness principle. So it is in that thing that he calls him Gudakesha. And I happened to come across this picture a long time ago, and I thought it was interesting because, it's a picture from almost 1905 or something, where those days, and it's such a thing that we're talking about today, September 5th, which is Teachers' Day, celebrated as Teachers' Day here. And this is just a picture from a Gurukula, I guess, where a student is tying his hair to the wall so that he doesn't fall asleep, So he's studying so much to so anyway, the ways we used to, and again, the ramifications of this is so beautiful because that is why maybe I'll just wait for another shloka coming up to talk about the greatness of our culture and how the practices that were there to make us sharp and very intellectual, Yeah. Amma, want to say something?
No.
No, okay. So we talked about Sarva Bhuteshu, which is trying to say that, I am the life in everyone. And this is the one that I wanted to explain, saying that the second line, we didn't do this last time. Aham adihi cha madhyam cha bhutanam antaha evacha. I am in the beginning, I'm in the middle, I'm at the end of creation. Meaning, I'm the Srishti Karanam, I'm the Sthiti Karanam, Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, that word you would have come across in many areas. So I'm the Srishti, Sthiti Karanam, I'm the cause of the creation, to say that I existed in the beginning and I'm the sustaining principle, and because of which alone I enjoy this existence, and I am the cause into which the world resolves. So just like, for example, we say that, when the pot, we make the pot, the clay was there before the pot was made, and the clay is still there when the pot is made, and the clay will continue to be there when the pot is destroyed, right? So too, what is that aspect in this entire universe which is constantly changing, which was there before, which is there now, and which will continue to be? It is that Sat and Chit. So that is why he says, Aham Atma Gudakesha, and I am in everything. And that is why I was there before, I am there now, and I will always be there, So that being said, what is really the significance for us, in this thing? How can we take the significance to our today's life, and how we can really relate this to a very important aspect which is going on now is, so Krishna is saying, I am the Jagat Karanam. I was, I am, and I will continue to be there. People may come and go, but I ever am. But the significance of this, I feel, is that this is really a panacea for mental health. Why do we say this? Because today I'm holding on to things which are so very temporary, and because it's temporary, we go through so many emotions. So objects, starting with simple objects, even like we said, always I give this example of the phone. Phone goes through so many upgrades, computers go through so many upgrades, our clothes go through so many this, but I hold on to all these things. I hold on to even people. People may come, people may go. So that is why there is this psychological significance to this particular statement, is that I have to, in and through all this, if I can break it down to the bare cause of things, which is Sat and Chit aspect of it, which is nothing but the embodiment of Bhagavan himself, right? If I can hold on to that Bhagavan in the form of Sat and Chit, then I will always be secure. Today, I don't feel secure. Today, I feel so hopeless. All this because I'm continuously holding on to something which, we call this as shifting sand, right? The sand is constantly shifting. I'm not aware of it, but I'm constantly holding on to it. But if I have this fundamental attitude that in and through everything, there is nothing but that Bhagwan, then I automatically start to love everyone. I automatically start to share things with everyone. And I don't have to keep on going for something again and again and again. So that is why this shloka is very powerful. It is really a panacea for mental health. And that is what I meant to say. Okay, now moving on to shloka number 21, he starts to, let's see what is the first thing he starts. So now, having talked about the very subtle aspects, now he's going to, starting with, again, the biggest and the bestest that we can think about. So I'll just chant the shloka and then we'll go over it. Adityanamaham Vishnuhu. Adityanam aham Vishnuhu. Jyotisham Raviram Shuman. Jyotisham Ravi Amshuman. Marichir Marutam Asmi. Marichir Marutam Asmi. Nakshatranam aham Shashi. Nakshatranam aham Shashi. So he's starting to now explain those manifestations of that Sat, okay, through things which we might be more familiar with. So, as I mentioned last week, you will see that in this 72 manifestations, there is a lot of reference to many of the Puranas, many of the things which are there in Itihasas, etc. So that is where he says, first he says, this creation, this entire creation is nothing but my own manifestation. And the very first thing of this is, he says, Aditya Nam Aham Vishnu. He begins by saying that among all the Adityas, or the sons of Aditi, which we'll see in the next slide, who are all those sons. So among all the sons of Aditi, I am, and the sons of Aditi are called as Adityas. Okay, among all those Adityas, I am Vishnu. Next, he says, I am that Ravi. Ravi, now who is that Ravi? Ravi is another name for the sun, the sun Devata. So among all the brightest objects in the universe, I am that sun, Ravi. And then he uses the word Amshuman. What is Amshuman? Amshuman means that absolute radiance among luminaries, the radiant, that Amshuman, the radiant, again describing the sun. So whenever we see anything brilliant, the idea is, our mind should immediately think about that aspect of Ishvara, which is shining like the sun. And then he doesn't want to think about just the daytime, So he's giving this example of the moon. So nakshatranam aham shashi. So just like in the daytime where you see the sun, So in the evening, it is the moon, which is the brightest of all the stars. Okay, so that is what he's saying. Then Marichihi Marutam Asmi. Again, I have a slide for each one of them because I like to break it into each one of the words here. So it is said, when Lord Hanuman was in Sundarakand, he was really captured and he was bound by ropes. And at that time, there were 49 types of wind deities, which are known as Marutas. And Hanuman, who is the son of Vayu, when all these 49 types were blowing, he still was able to untie himself of all these ropes and then flow from building to building, burning each one, with the flame from his tail. So Krishna says, Marichihi, the prominent among Marutas is Ishwar's expression. So among the Marutas, which I said is 49 of them, is the best of all of them is this Marichi, and that also is a manifestation of my own glory. So among the winds, the bestest of all the winds is this Marichi, and Marichi is my own glory. Again, he's hitting on all the best of glories. So the 12 sons of Devatas, these are the 12 Devatas: Dhata, Mitra, Arima, Drudra, Varuna, Surya, Vivaswan, Pusha, Savita. Some of these words you've already seen in Bhagavad Gita itself, Vivaswan, Manave, Prahuhu, in 4th chapter, I think, where he says, so among all these sons of Aditi, I am that Vishnu. And this Vishnu is in Vamana avatar, was born as Aditi Putra. And again, Onam celebration is going to start very soon, 2 weeks. And Onam is nothing but the birthday of the Vamana avatar, Vamana avatar, who is avatar of Vishnu. So this is the 12 sons. Now, all these are, of course, the Laukika Vibhutis. Laukika meaning in the world, right? And these are all based on the Puranas. In our Srimad Bhagavatam and many other places, you see the stories of each one of these sons of Aditi which have been described. So that is what he is referring to, the 12 sons of Aditi. Among them, Vishnu is the most prominent in the form of Vamana. So that's the Dwadasha Aditya. Dwadasha meaning 12. Now, this Dwadasha Aditya itself, just one more thing to mention is they are 12 in number, and this represents the 12 faces of the sun. And that is how the months have come about, So again, I want to point out a little bit of Indian knowledge systems here. We always think the 12 months, again, it's come from the Greek or Rome or wherever. I have to do my own research to see how they have come out with this January, February, March, etc. But this already existed in our own literature, So, for example, in January, the face of the sun, when we talk about it, in January, because it's winter time, the sun is, like almost benign. It seems like as if there is not much of sun during winter, right? The glory of the sun is not seen so much. But then once we hit May to June and everything, and especially in India with this, we call this hot months, at that time, we know really that we feel the heat of the sun so much, right? So the 12 suns, they represent actually the 12 faces of the sun is the 12 months where we see the glory of sun in various forms. Okay. So the 12 suns itself is part of the 33 main devatas, which I've listed out here, which is the 12 Adityas. Then you have the 11 Rudras, Eka Dwadasha Aditya, Ekadasha Rudra, Ashta Vasus. So these are the Vasus here. And then finally, Indra and Prajapati. So if you add all of them, it comes to 33. And these 33 are the main devatas which, we pray to in almost all the rituals. Whenever there are pujas, now you can pay attention to these names which keeps coming up, so these devatas. And actually in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there are these 33 devatas, they multiply into 33 crore devatas. That is what is mentioned in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And so Krishna takes the first among the 12 Adityas, which is, he says, I am Vishnu. I am Adityanam Aham Vishnuhu. That is what he says. And then the next one he's saying in the same shloka is Jyotisham Ravihi Amshuman. So among the Jyotis, among the luminaries, among the most prominent radiant objects, he says, so when we think about anything which has light, of course, we think about the stars, the planets, and among all that, I am that sun god. I am that Ravihi, Jyotihi, Jyotisham Ravihi Amasmi. So he says, I'm that absolute brilliant Ravi. And which is why I think, we have our own rituals, like in Sandhya Vandanam, right? In Sandhya Vandanam, the sun god is invoked 3 times. And of course, even if we don't do Sandhya Vandanam, we can definitely see the significance of sun in our daily life. Without the sun, there is absolutely no plant can ever survive without the sun, correct? And of course, the sun god has been glorified by Agastya Rishi, right? In Ramayana, Agastya Rishi gives the Aditya Hridayam. He teaches Aditya Hridayam to Rama, and in there is this beautiful shloka, Rashmi Mantam Samudhyantam Devasura Namaskritam Pujayasva Vivasvantam Bhaskaram Bhuvaneshwaram. All this is how the sun is really glorified in our tradition, and which is why I was saying earlier, which is another beautiful tradition for us, is that, we are asked to get up early. I mean, all of us, I think we belong to that generation when we were young, our parents would make sure that we get up early by 4 o'clock or something before the sun rises. So the idea is that we should be fresh and ready to receive the sun, to welcome that Ishvara in the form of the sun, and therefore we have to wake up. But now, of course, the philosophy is, not to go late to bed. Actually, kids stay up to 2 a.m. and all that, and leading to so much of, we are finding this, and we are trying to do things about it here in my university here, which is, trying to see how they can get up early, they can do some yoga, and then go to sleep early, try to be away from your digital gadgets. So I'm that sun god. Then Marichihi, as I explained already, Marichihi is, again, another devata. And then Maruta Ganaha. So among the 49, Marut. So there are 7 groups, and in each group 7 members are there. And from this Marichi, I am that Marichi. Marichi is the devata who presides over that beautiful breeze, which will make us feel very pleasant. Marichi means the tender, beautiful breeze, actually. So therefore, Krishna says, I am that Marichihi among the Maruta Ganaha. So Marichihi, Amrutam, Ahamasmi, among the Maruta, I am that Marichi. And then, of course, Nakshatranam, Aham Shashi, which is, I am that moon among the night luminaries. So I am in the form of Chandra, and therefore we worship Chandra Devata also as a manifestation of that Lord. And so I am that moon, I am that Shashi. So that is how he's explaining the glories of himself now in a form that we can understand, right? So before we go to Shloka 22, I know the time is already 9:30 for you, correct? Anything you want to mention about these glories? I thought it would be a simple thing to just say, okay, I am this, but having been exposed to some aspect of, what should I say, the Indian knowledge systems, I felt that, well, we should talk a little more about just saying that I'm the sun, I'm the moon, you know. And we will really see towards the end, after we speak about the 72 glories, you know, how the whole thing lines up so beautifully and how it is important for us to know so much amount of detail. And that is really the greatness of our Hindu spiritual literature, I would say. So the next shloka actually is very beautiful, but that also needs a little more explanation. So I don't want to go too much, but I'll just chant the shloka. Vedanam samavedosmi. Vedanam samavedosmi. Devanam asmi vasavaha. Devanam asmi vasavaha. Indriyanam manaschasmi. Indriyanam manaschasmi. Bhutanam asmi chetana. Bhutanam asmi chetana. So here he comes to talk about actually the mind. And here we will, since I've already given now the introduction to Sat and Chit, we won't really go too much into this, but this is where he talks about the life principle among living beings. You know, we discussed this a little earlier. So we'll take this next week. Okay. Actually, I did think we'll do more, but I think we spent a little more time on the explanation of Sat and Chit. Otherwise, I was hoping to do at least 2 or 3 more shlokas. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Stop the live stream. I'll just stop.